Yes, it is. I think authenticity is something that is extremely important because how can we live our life without being authentic? It
Yeah.
would be very challenging because if we don't connect with our authenticity, then what do we live then? I like what Carl Jung was saying. He said that it's more difficult to enlightened. And I think we talk about authenticity, it is somewhat related to enlightenment, you know.
Yeah.
When we are born, since the very first day we're born, um, the society is giving us a script, a script about who we are and how we have to be, and who we have to be. So you're a woman, how you're supposed to be, you're supposed to look good,
You're
you're
supposed to have
supposed
children.
you're supposed to have children. You're supposed to get married. You're
Hmm.
supposed to behave in a certain way. You're supposed to look in a certain way. You're supposed to have a certain job. Anything is somewhat predetermined. I don't think that a lot of people think about it. But then, it is actually so powerful that we let ourselves guide by those expectations, by that script. I think that is when we lose our authenticity. And
And think about how many people live their lives and not listening to themselves, but listening to the society and what they're told by their family and friends. It's like constant downloading of belief systems. No,
yeah,
people feel like this is also an invitation for people to start listening to themselves, to that voice. What do you want? What do you like? Who are you deep down? So they start
yeah,
connecting with who they truly are, right? Instead of listening to that background noise.
yeah. And the shadow,
All of that. Yeah, exactly.
working with the shadow and, embracing it. And I think that's where parts of our authenticity are in that shadow. But as we know, it can be challenging for people to accept.
For
And
everyone, it's the scariest part of work.
yeah, yeah.
Welcome to Emanate Light. Today we're going to talk about identity, authenticity, and what it really means to support people in becoming their true selves. I am so excited to introduce Diana, who is not only a wonderful human being, but also a fantastic therapist. And I'm really, really proud to have her as a part of the Enrichment Wellness team. Her journey toward living authentically as herself is so truly inspiring. Born in Russia and assigned male at birth, Diana had to navigate a lot of judgment, pressure, and misunderstanding, not only from society, but also from community in order to become the person she is today. Her courage, authenticity is something I truly admire on the deepest level. And I'm really excited to have this conversation with her today. Diana, welcome.
Hi. Well, first of all, thank you for such a warm introduction, and I'm really happy to be here because I think that sharing my experience can be helpful not only for people who are exploring their identity, but also maybe for clinicians who are working with people who are exploring their identity. And as I'm talking about it right now, I actually think that it could be helpful for families and community members, for anyone who is actually looking to support someone who is um, exploring their identity, going through their gender transition. And
Absolutely. Would you be comfortable sharing a little bit about your journey and what led you into the field of therapy?
oh, yes, of course. I think my identity, my exploration of my identity is something that has contributed to me being a therapist, has contributed to my approach in therapy. And my journey is a story with multiple chapters. And I think the most interesting chapter to talk about today would be uh, the most recent chapter of my journey, of my story. And of course, as I will be talking about that most recent chapter of my life, of my story, of my journey, I may reference something from previous chapters,
Please do, yeah.
something that I think may be important for people to understand. And well, it's been a journey. It's been a while, and it is a journey from being someone who did not believe that anything could be possible, a journey of someone who was deeply confused, and lacked confidence, and lacked hope, to someone who is living a totally different life right now. And sometimes when I think about my past experiences, I Sometimes I think, sometimes I even ask myself that question, really? Did it really happen?
Did it really happen?
Was it really possible? Years ago, I could not even think that I would ever be able to become who I am right now.
Not to mention I already mentioned earlier that you were born in Russia, and in Russia it's such a huge taboo topic. No one is transitioning in Russia. It's such an impossible thing. You can't even be gay in Russia, let alone transgender, right? So it's like for you, you had like so many more complexity
Mhm.
to to becoming who you are, and you still did it.
Definitely, definitely. There is a lot of complexities there. And you're right, in Eastern Europe and particularly in Russia. Well, there is people who transition. So, but it is what? It is very difficult. And those who transitioned, they never talk about it. They do not self-disclose. And they just try to forget about that chapter in their life when they could not live their life authentically. So there is a lot of issues that are related to transitioning in Russia. There is a lot of stigma, and a lot of times the most difficulty is the acceptance in the society and things like social justice. If you are a transgender individual in Russia, you barely have chances to find employment, community, well, anything basically. A lot of people who transition in Russia, unfortunately, turn into, they go for jobs that are not accepted. Let's say that way to be diplomatic. A lot of transgender women in Russia do sex work.
Hmm.
Uh, that's the only option because
Yeah.
I think the most difficult part of the transition is that very beginning when you just start taking hormones, having
Mhm.
some surgeries and dressing differently, letting your hair grow, whatever it is. It's an in-between stage,
Yeah.
and you know, nevertheless, you still need to support yourself somehow. And uh, that can be very challenging for many people because
Yeah.
there is zero support there for people who transition.
Not only there's zero support, the opposite effect. You get a lot of criticism and judgment, and people cut you off. They don't want to be associated with you, which is,
That's
yeah,
exact. Yeah,
it's worse than prison.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely
Not an easy path at all.
not an easy path, not an easy process. Well, I wouldn't say it's an easy process even here,
Yeah,
but we definitely have more support here.
absolutely.
And the society here is more understanding
Thank
and,
God.
and more educated. And I guess it really depends on the area in the United States. But I have been lucky to live in Washington, D.C., which is a very progressive area. And one fact about Washington, D.C. is that the population in the District of Columbia is the highest in the world per capita.
Mm.
And when it comes to transgender care and the transgender population, from what I know, don't quote me on that. Maybe that's an
Mhm.
outdated piece of information, but this is the place.
This is the place.
This is the place.
Good.
Yes.
It's wonderful that you're here and you can get support. Love that. Amazing. And I'm sure your clients are very lucky. People that you work with, your clients right there, they feel very lucky to have you because you definitely bringing a different lens, bringing different of support, if you will. Yeah, and I just kind of like I was curious, how has your personal journey shaped the way you show up for your clients today?
Well, my personal journey is about a transformation. And as I say, transformation, I guess many people would say, I would think about a physical transformation, but I think it is more about a spiritual and psychological transformation than the physical changes. And I think, of course, when I work with transgender clients, it is definitely something that creates a totally different dynamic. It is definitely something that contributes to, more understanding. I think that is something that's kind of clear,
Yeah,
right? But I also think that my experience with my journey, with my transformation, is just something that made me believe that any transformation is possible. And in therapy, a lot of times it's about changing the trajectory of life to some degree, it's a transformation of identity. It's may not be related to gender, but it is somewhat a transformation that people undergo as they come to therapy. And I think my experience just helped me to understand that anything is possible. Because as I said before, I went from someone who didn't believe that it would be possible to someone who is now
Created your beautiful reality and set yourself free in that sense, right?
yeah, yeah. So I think that, my experience can also help me to push my clients, but to help them realize that it's possible. That's anything possible.
Anything's possible. It's very empowering if you think about it. If you kind of believe in yourself, right? That's you literally embed that belief and you start showing it to other people, whether you're talking to clients in sessions or meeting random people on the streets, right? Like you're
Yeah.
yourself, if you're kind of emanating that
Mhm.
authenticity, it's contagious. It's
You
if I did it, you can do it. It's my power, and you are also powerful, and you can do that too.
exactly, exactly. It's about the authenticity.
And
Uh,
believing in yourself, which you did. Clearly, you did, and you created it.
Believing in yourself, yes, it is. I think authenticity is something that is extremely important because how can we live our life without being authentic? It
Yeah,
would be very challenging because if we don't connect with our authenticity, then what do we live then? I like what Carl Jung was saying. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Carl Jung.
are young. Yeah,
Well, I mean, in German, his last name is
young.
Jung. His Americanized version, is Young, but the first major was in linguistics, and I extensively studied German, so for me, it's still Jung.
Young.
But anyways, it has the same meaning in German. Jung means young, and so yes.
Hmm.
So, well, he said that it's more difficult to enlightened. And I think we talk about authenticity, it is somewhat related to enlightenment, you know.
Yeah.
When we are born, since the very first day we're born, um, the society is giving us a script, a script about who we are and how we have to be, and who we have to be. So you're a woman, how you're supposed to be, you're supposed to look good,
You're
you're
supposed to have
supposed
children.
you're supposed to have children. You're supposed to get married. You're
Hmm.
supposed to behave in a certain way. You're supposed to look in a certain way. You're supposed to have a certain job. Anything is somewhat predetermined. I don't think that a lot of people think about it. But then, it is actually so powerful that we let ourselves guide by those expectations, by that script. I think that is when we lose our authenticity. And,
And think
you
about
know,
how many people live their lives and not listening to themselves, but listening to the society and what they're told by their family and friends. It's like constant downloading of belief systems. No,
yeah,
people feel like this is also an invitation for people to start listening to themselves, to that voice. What do you want? What do you like? Who are you deep down? So they
yeah,
start connecting with who they truly are, right? Instead of listening to that background noise.
yeah. And the shadow,
All of that. Yeah, exactly.
working with the shadow and embracing it. And I think that's where parts of our authenticity are in that shadow. But as we know, it can be challenging for people to accept.
For
And
everyone, it's the scariest part of work.
yeah, yeah, because then it's so who am I if
Hmm.
I don't let myself guide by this script? So what am I? And then it just you know becomes an open-ended question. It becomes something that people necessarily immediately know how to navigate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Diana, what do you think you wish more people understood about the transgender experience?
That's a very important question that you're asking. Thank you for that question. I think that the most important that I would like everyone to understand that it's not a choice, that it is not something that's optional to transition or not to transition. If someone needs a surgery, a life-saving surgery, then they don't ask the question either they need that surgery or not. So they just go to the hospital, the surgeon does the surgery to save their life. And you know, I was thinking about movies. I don't remember the names of those movies, but I think there were a couple of movies I've watched about when something happens and people change their bodies by accident, and a man becomes trapped in a female body,
Yeah,
and
yep, yep.
trapped in a male body.
Hmm.
If you know what I'm talking about,
Yes, can't remember the name either.
they wake up and they are in shock, they are in panic. Can you imagine someone living in a body that they don't think is
Theirs or they belong to.
exactly, but it's not only about body, it's also about their mind, their spirit. I don't know how to say. It's about how the society is perceiving you, how the
Mhm.
society is treating you. And it can be painful, it can be traumatic. I personally think that there is a trauma component there for sure. You know, when someone realizes that they are living their life in a wrong body, so to speak,
Yeah.
can you imagine how what that experience is like
No,
for
I can't. I cannot.
you know, and then more than that, also thinking about either, well, can I change it? Is it possible to change it? How is it going to go if I try to change it? What if it doesn't go well? How is the society going to treat me? Is my family going to accept me? What about my friends? And like,
Am I gonna have any friends after all of that?
am I going to have any friends after all? And after all of that, yeah, there is so many things, there is so many questions that nobody can answer, that nobody has an answer for. And I think the most important part there is to just be connected to that authenticity, and anything else then will come along. And I think, by the way, friends, you said friends, I was thinking, that can be a turning point for so many people, because I personally think that true friends will just be there, they will stay with you. They will not make a difference for them. Either you are changing your body or not, because they are your friends not because of how you look like. They
Yeah.
are your friends because of who you are as a person.
As a spirit,
And
as a soul, exactly. They're attracted to your personality, to who you are as a.
yeah, and I think that is coming up a lot in therapy with transgender clients. There is that fear of losing friends. And I always say, well, maybe it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's a good test.
Yeah, maybe it's a good test. Maybe it's like a funnel. Maybe it's gonna put all those people in your life through that funnel, and it's gonna, not only transform your life as you go through that transition, through that process, but it's also gonna sort out those people. It's gonna show you who is a true friend and who
Yeah.
is not,
It's
you know.
actually, I'm writing a book about quantum therapy, and it's called the term quantum pruning as you elevate and becoming your true self and to the highest version of yourself. Certain people just kind of fall off certain experience. And this is what happens. You
Yeah,
choose yourself, you becoming more authentic as you yourself. Certain people will just fall away automatically and you don't need them. You have to be okay with that
yes,
outcome because you're elevating, you're growing, you're becoming who you are.
yes, you're doing it for yourself.
Exactly.
You're doing it for your own happiness.
Hmm.
It's not for your friends, it's not for your family members. If they are not okay with that, well, sorry for them, but
You still have to live your life.
you still have to live your life. So maybe,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Wonderful. What do you think are some common misconceptions about being transgender that you often encounter?
I mean, the first one, I kind of talked about it a little bit. It is, the misconception is that it is somewhat a choice.
Mm,
People choose, and that they have an option not to do it, just yeah. So I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions. But number two would be, of course, I think personally, is that gender identity and sexual orientation
yeah.
misconception there is that people often think that if someone is transitioning to become a woman, that they are automatically attracted to man, that someone who is undergoing a medical transition, so to speak, from, you
Mhm.
know, becoming someone who was assigned female at birth and who's becoming a male, they think that those individuals are attracted to women, which is, I think, I mean, I don't think I know, is something that I not only know from my personal experience, but also I think I read a study about it too. But it turns out that more transgender people are actually attracted to the same sex. So I feel like there is more transgender women who are attracted to women than transgender women who are attracted to men. I may be mistaken. This is my observation.
But it's
This
very common, what you're saying.
it's very common, and I think this is something that people do not necessarily think about. Gender identity and sexual orientation are two different things. They don't necessarily overlap. Those are two different concepts.
Unrelated, exactly.
I wish more people would understand it and would know that.
Well, thank you for teaching us. I think it's going to help a lot of people to gain that awareness.
Yeah, yeah. I think there is also other things that we can call misconceptions. I think what else could be mentioned is that people think that it's done for some sort of sexual purposes, to be able to practice certain sexual activities. There's one that's very common in Eastern Europe. I think it may be less common in the United States, but it's one of those big ones that I think is that I have encountered, that I have seen.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, I mean, there is misconceptions about how you look or how you're supposed to look.
Hmm.
I'm actually surprised to sometimes that there is people who don't understand that there is surgeries that can help people to look differently.
Yeah.
I'm sometimes surprised that learn from some people that they don't actually know that there is such a thing like call it bottom surgery, to sex reassignment surgery or gender affirming surgery. There is
Hmm.
multiple names, but there is people who just don't know that it even exists. There is a misconception that I frequently, from my personal experiences, oh, I wouldn't say you're trans. And I'm like, okay, so how do you think transgender people look like? So I think the misconception there is that it is not possible to look passable. I don't know, something like that. So so this is my experience,
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So maybe something else will come to my mind
it's
that I will.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, so like what kind of themes or challenges tend to come up when you work with clients who explore their gender identity?
Oh, that's a lot of challenges there. The biggest challenge and the first challenge a lot of times is that the coming out.
Yeah.
Family. It is a lot of times related to feelings of shame and guilt. And I guess the which can be to embrace the identity, fully embrace it. The challenge is to overcome the anxiety. Well, anything and everything is somewhat a challenge in the beginning because it's not an easy process.
Mhm.
You change.
I think not an easy is an understatement.
Yes, there are so many changes that the transgender individuals undergo, transgender people undergo. It's not only the physiological changes.
It's mental, spiritual, psycho,
Yeah,
all of that,
yeah, yes, it's psychological changes, as you said, mental, spiritual,
everything.
everything. And then, a lot of times the first step is therapy, and process can also make people be more emotional. That is something that completely changes how people feel. And that can be an adjustment for so many people. Yeah, yeah. So it's life becomes a challenge, so to speak.
Do you feel like you're still dealing with some of these challenges um, at very present stage of your life?
Yeah, I sometimes I do, there's people who just, well, first of all, I usually do not self-disclose. And it's just my personal policy, so to speak, because I don't want people see me as a transgender person. I just want them to see me as a human.
Exactly.
But the part of my policy is I don't self-disclose, but if they ask me anything because they found out something from someone or whatever else it may be, then I will not be lying. I will admit and I will tell them. So, and of course, not everyone has understanding. Not everyone can stay away from asking unnecessary questions. And yeah, so yeah,
And kind of piggyback off that, what are some of the questions that we have to be mindful and careful and sensitive about asking a transgender person, let's say?
well, I mean, it is somewhat personal from person to person, and that the same question can be offensive for one individual, for one person, and can be okay for another person. But there is things like, oh, what was your name before? Or, even ask that question differently. They're like, oh, what is your real name?
Even worse, what's your real name, right?
Yeah, yeah. Can you show me the picture from before? Or, oh, did you have that surgery? How it looks like, so yeah, things like that, things that make transgender people feel like they are freaks, that there is something wrong with them. Because
Mhm.
ask someone a question, oh, what's your real name? You know,
Mhm.
what does it imply?
It implies that whatever name you carry right now is fake. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So exactly, that's what so any question that I guess just think that way about it. So would you ask that question someone who's not transgender? Is the
that
best
makes a lot of
way.
sense.
Yeah, unless there is some around, just like we're talking right now, so we're talking about a specific topic, authenticity, gender identity, acceptance, and yeah, it's understandable that you're asking me questions,
Mhm.
and I'm to answer them because I
Yeah,
think it'd be helpful for so many people. But yeah, so I think transgender people just want to feel normal, and any question that makes them feel that there is something wrong with them, that there is
yeah,
something off, can.
absolutely. On the other note, Diana, what has your journey taught you about authenticity and self-acceptance?
Well, I think that authenticity and self-acceptance are the two most important things in life. Because if you're not accepting yourself, can be difficult to live, right?
Absolutely.
You know, if you're not living your life authentically, are you going to be happy? And, about that script that the society gives us. So, uh, it can be a blessing and a curse not to live life according to that script. And I think that's about the authenticity. It can be difficult in the beginning, to embrace it, to accept it. But then it will be a gift. So
I agree.
that I think is the biggest lesson. And speaking of authenticity, it can be applied to anything. It doesn't have to be gender identity. It can be anything. You're not authentic. If you don't live your life authentically, then
Will you be happy? Probably not.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Diana, while I have you here today, do you have any tools or exercises that you can share with us that will help someone to maybe accept themselves a little more, go of those judgments or opinions of others? What would be like a one thing that you can,
I think that the biggest tool in situation would be to surround yourself with the right people who love you and accept you and embrace you the way you are. And that is not necessarily easy, but I think this is the biggest tool. Um, you know, it's important to be socially connected. What's more important is to be socially connected to the right people and, finding the right community is the biggest
I mean, it's
to think of.
it is the biggest tool if you think about it. It's such a huge support. It's a
Mhm.
huge support system.
Yeah, yeah, and mine is that a lot of times transgender people struggle because they don't have support, because they don't feel accepted. And, when someone else accepts you, then it becomes easier for you to accept yourself. So, when we transition, our friends and our families are transitioning with us. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's important to have the right people.
What can families do better in order to support their loved ones who's questioning or actually going through that?
Just be there. Just be there. Just provide support and understanding and not question what is happening and why it is happening.
Not
I
judging.
mean, yes. I mean, judging is never a good thing anyways.
Yeah,
But in this situation, there is a lot that happens internally. And if things don't go well externally as well, the environment, the friends, family, then it can be more difficult.
yeah,
Can
absolutely.
be extra difficult and extra challenging. So, and I guess how support looks like is for everyone.
Yeah,
So that's why I say just be there and ready to provide that support, whatever it looks like.
yeah. Just being there for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Human connection.
Basic human connection. Yeah. Deanna, do you have any advice for therapists who want to create a more affirmings for their transgender clients
Yeah, I think what's important is not to judge, of course, for any therapist,
for any situation?
or any situation, approaching with curiosity. And I think the best thing that can be done is to try to treat transgender people just like you would treat regular people. And that is something that's going to help them feel like they're normal.
And accepted.
and accepted. Because the more you ask those questions that make them feel like they're different, the less accepted they would feel. And again, that is somewhat my experience.
Mm,
I never want anyone to treat me any than just a human being. And I think that's important in therapy too.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. They have anxiety. Let's see what that anxiety is. If they have depression, let's see where is it coming from and how we can help you. But if we always try to relate everything to transgender experience, then it creates and where everything seems to where the transgender experience seems to be the cause of depression, the cause of anxiety, the cause of whatever else it may be. So, and I actually had a friend who dropped out, who stopped seeing her therapist because of that,
Mhm.
because anything and everything was okay. Let's see how your identity uh, is related to that anxiety that you're having, or relate everything. And she would try to find a connection there. And then my friend told me I was tired that I think that is related to necessarily to my identity, but it was trying to kind of roots there.
I
Yeah.
can imagine it could be very annoying and
Hmm.
triggering. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And well, some people, well, people who are exploring their identity, and there is people who are done exploring their identity. They are already living their identity,
Living there now, like
and
you.
well, yeah, yeah, come to therapy, and they don't want to talk about their identity.
Yeah.
So I have a therapist as well, right? And we never ever talk about my identity because
It's irrelevant.
yeah, it's irrelevant. It's not something that I even think is related to anything that I'm bringing into the session.
Hmm.
But if that therapist would try to relate it to who I am, to my identity, that would be definitely off. That would
Yeah,
make me think that there is something wrong with my identity.
exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for therapists or just people in general? What are like some small things people can do to show more respect and make you feel safe?
Well, I think using the right pronouns, use the chosen name, trying just be
Hmm.
and them as regular people. I don't like this word regular people, but I have to use it. But you know little things. I don't think there is any little or big
Yeah.
thing. Just all It's just all boils down to the same, treating someone with dignity and respect. And
And not even a huge ask.
it's not a huge ask.
No,
No, it's not a huge
just
ask.
be
And
mindful of how you treating me, what you call me, and that's it.
yeah, but also, if you're a therapist and you're working with someone who is identity, who is transitioning or already transitioned, if you don't know anything about it, or if you know very little about it, I think it would be always a good thing to mention that and say, hey, it's that there's things that I may not know. So I may say something, and it's not because I'm trying to offend you. It's because I may not know everything, and
Yeah,
I'm here. And then as helping you, I may also need to learn something from you because we learn from our clients, right? So
absolutely.
working with someone who is transgender is also a learning experience. And
Absolutely.
I'm a fan of individual psychology. I personally think that we are so unique that we cannot overgeneralize everything, like so definitely there is little things like yes, name, the pronoun, but other than that, just try to see that person as an individual, as who they are, and because regardless of their gender identity, the set of their experiences is so unique.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Diana, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
And don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's going to be all right. Just believe in yourself. Listen to yourself. Don't listen to those people who are telling you oh, you're going to die young because transgender people die young because of hormone therapy. There was a friend in Russia who told me that, people would have different opinions. But ever know who, how you really feel and who you truly are. So just don't let yourself guide by what others say about you. Just be yourself. Just listen
And
to
listen
yourself.
to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Just embrace yourself, accept yourself, connect to that authenticity, and I'm gonna work out in the end.
And I think the most important thing is to realize that there's nothing wrong with you in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. I think that this is that I personally struggled with for a very long time.
Mm.
I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought that there was something fundamentally wrong with me, especially when I was growing up, when I was a kid. I remember that I shared with anyone. I could
Yeah.
not, know people I would share it with or ask questions. There was nothing available there. It's just, it creates a lot of feelings of isolation. It creates feelings of shame, guilt,
Awkwardness.
awkwardness, whatever. I was, I don't know how old I was, 7, 8. Well, by that time, I already knew who I was, but I didn't know that transition would ever be possible. So I was crying at night. I couldn't sleep because I
Mm,
thought that I was a monster. I was thinking this questions like, why is it happening to me?
mm.
Why? So, and yeah, so I lost a little bit. Where did I go with that? Well, one thing that I would tell myself, my younger self, yeah, I think I expanded on it a little bit more than I was supposed to and
Okay.
lost it. Yeah,
There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with anyone who explores their identity.
yeah,
And people need to embrace that voice, that nudge, whatever it is. There is nothing wrong with you.
there is nothing wrong with you. And well, the most interesting, because transgender people existed in so many indigenous cultures, even in I actually was about our meeting today, so I came prepared. So that across cultures, then gender diversity has often been recognized and integrated into social structures. And key points, the key takeaways there are there that used to be spiritual leaders, ritual performers, caregivers and family organizers, artists and cultural mediators. And that was something that happened across multiple cultures. They had even in Siberia, gender variant shamans.
Hmm.
In Albanian culture, I forgot what they were called, but there were people who just took a gender role. They dressed differently. They took a gender role. Hijras in India, Asian cultures, Philippines, and it was to be common. And, you know,
Thailand too. Yeah.
colonization, all of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's not a new thing.
This is not a new development. It's
No, 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 no. What one of the biggest misconceptions is also that it's something new that people just, you know, uh, well, it is new in the sense that now we have more
medical help
medical help to,
to transition. Yeah.
from our body to fully transition. But before, about the same, we're not having more transgender people right now. It's more transgender people can now talk openly about their experiences. They have more help, more opportunities to transform their body, but it's not a new phenomenon. It is
No.
something that's always existed.
Yeah. I agree. Diana, and I have this very last question for you. What message would you want listeners, and especially those who may be struggling with identity or self-acceptance, to hear today?
Listen to yourself. Nobody can know who you are. Nobody can know better than you. And yeah, there is people around you who disapprove. There is people around you who may not have understanding of what you're going through, but just don't listen to anyone because that can be disorienting. There could be so many people with so different
So many
opinions
different opinions.
and biases and not, but you know the answer. It's within you. Just listen to it. Let yourself guide by it.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Okay.
for being you. Thank you for being authentic. Thank you for sharing about your journey. This was so beautiful, Diana. Thank you for
So
coming in and talking to our audience today.
it was a pleasure to be here.
Please come
And
back again.
I hope it will be helpful for viewers, whoever those viewers are, either therapists, families, community members, people who explore their identity. I hope that can help at many levels.
Thank you.